Seahawks. Today is Friday, January 15th. Michael Jordan once said, "Never say never because limits, like fears, are often just illusions." And that is something to think about. Today's Seahawk forecast calls for partly cloudy in the morning, then becoming cloudy with periods of rain later in the day. High of 62. Winds south-southwest at 10 to 15 miles an hour with a 70% chance of rain. Please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance, School Creed, and Moment of Silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a coastal Seahawk, I will show respect for everyone. I will be open-minded. I will accept responsibility for my actions, and I will reflect on my choices. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated. Today is a B-Day. Every Thursday and Friday are B-Days. This day in history, in 1929, Martin Luther King Jr. was born. In 1967, the Packers beat the Chiefs in the first ever Super Bowl. In 2009, pilot Sully Sullenberger performs The Miracle on the Hudson. Google it if you don't know what that is. In 1972, American Pie hit #1 on the pop charts. In 1777, Vermont declares independence from Colony of New York. And in 1831, The Hunchback of Notre Dame is finished. Please remember, Monday, January 18th is a school holiday for all students and staff in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Let's take a look at who Martin Luther King Jr. was.
He began his career as a Baptist preacher, but went on to lead a sweeping grassroots effort to end racial discrimination, known as the Civil Rights Movement. Along the way, Martin Luther King Jr. He began his career as a Baptist preacher, but went on to lead a sweeping grassroots effort to end racial discrimination, known as the Civil Rights Movement. Along the way, Martin Luther King Jr. made history and emerged as one of the most influential leaders of the 20th century. Before the Civil Rights Movement began, segregation policies known as Jim Crow laws kept African Americans in a separate and generally inferior world from whites. African Americans went to separate public schools, ate in separate restaurants, and even had to use separate public restrooms. They had to sit in the back of buses and give up their seats to any white people standing. But in 1954, Jim Crow suffered a stunning defeat. The Supreme Court declared that separate schools for blacks and whites were inherently unequal in a case called Brown versus Board of Education. The following year, in Montgomery, Alabama, a tailor's assistant named Rosa Parks refused to give up her bus seat for a white passenger. Parks was arrested, but Martin Luther King organized a full-fledged boycott of the Montgomery City bus system. 13 months later, the buses integrated. The Montgomery boycott inspired more efforts to end segregation. In 1963, King and other civil rights leaders organized the March on Washington. More than 200,000 people came to the nation's capital to demand equality for blacks and to urge Congress to pass pending civil rights laws. Standing at the base of the Lincoln Memorial, King spoke the words, "I have a dream today," describing his hope for a future in which all men would be brothers. The Civil Rights Movement was changing the nation. In 1964, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act, which made racial discrimination in public places illegal. The same year, King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. On April 4, 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. But the movement he helped to lead lived on, inspiring other groups, such as Hispanics, women, and the disabled, to fight for equal treatment under the law and completing King's legacy of greater social justice for all Americans.
Students, are you interested in deep writing? The link has been emailed to your It's Learning Messenger. Check it out or reach out to your ELA teacher to be sure and sign up. The first meeting is January 27th, and they will meet every Wednesday.